the inevitable truth is that your life won't last forever. You think about the people you love deeply, and thinking about it might actually hurt. Have you ever wondered if you missed opportunities to show more love, give more love, or demonstrate more love? There are times in our life when we are reminded that there is nothing more important than love. Because the greatest single need and desire of humanity is love. To love is the greatest power, privilege, and freedom we possess. And every thought, word, and action motivated by love matters. Love is the highest expression of what it means to be human. What I'd like to offer you is the idea to not leave love left undone. There may be things you don't accomplish, attain, or achieve in this world, but don't let shrinking back from love be one of them. If you're fortunate, you discover that love is the only thing that really matters. Love heals everything, and love is all there is. That's why I've started a love wave, an intention to demonstrate the undeniable possibilities when we look at life through the lens of love. After all, as you look back at your life, I'm sure you'll agree that life was always about that. It was all about love. This show is intended to highlight those that are committed, like I am, to bring their experiences, insights, and wisdom to advance what we believe to be true. That love is still the answer. Welcome to Love Wave Live. Welcome to Love Wave Live. I love saying that. I'm honored to be here. Hello, everyone, on this beautiful Saturday. And for those who are watching, who couldn't just get up on the West Coast, at 8 o'clock, it's absolutely fine. So if you are here with us, in the comments, let us know where you're watching from. And please ask questions, comments for our guest today. And let's be engaged. I'm so thrilled for today because it's my daughter's 20th birthday today. So I just can't wait to celebrate her. I'm already celebrating her. I woke her up with a little bit of a text. And I just think about 20 years ago, how time flies. And I recall when she was born that my wife was going through a lot. And I was the first one to get to hold her. And I was also the first one to get to feed her. And there was a special bond. I love both of my children, but with Celine, her name means heavenly. It was just this connection where there was a soul connection, and I find that today. So happy birthday, beautiful Celine Faith Leilani Italic. There was a lot of names. We weren't sure if we were going to have another kid, so we put it all in one name. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so thrilled because our guest today, not only is it a celebration of Celine's birthday, but it's a celebration of her launch of her new book. And she and I, have just developed this amazing brother-sister bond, and it was a no-brainer at some point to bring her into the Love Wave Live stage. Actually, when I had planned, we had a second event planned in May of this year in San Diego. But of course, because of COVID, it was postponed, and we're still earmarking it for May of 2021. But Amy was one of the featured speakers and facilitators. And so it's great to have her come on the stage today and share with her heart, and you'll see why her and I really have connected. I want to share a little bit more about Amy and then have her come on so you can experience the magic that I did. So Amy is an intuitive artist. She's a healer. She's a spiritual mentor, a speaker, and as of today, like I said, a published author. Amy's mission is to compel and inspire others to learn a love so deep within themselves that it liberates them from who they believe they are while becoming aware and honoring their highest self. Amy lives and loves out loud, and she does it with courage, compassion, and a deep reverence for all of life. She radiates love as a witness to her life experiences and others, and she serves to continuously do the inner work as she knows that is where the truest wisdom has been planted. Now, Amy has she's lived through traumatic experiences. And I know she has sat with pain. She's faced it, she's acknowledged it, she has seen it, but she hasn't run away from it. And she has developed a deeply conscious, spiritual, and loving relationship with her true self. And you want to talk about self-love? Well, self-love has become a way of living. And she is here to help others make their love loud. Now, Amy lives in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, with her son and two dogs. And she loves to paint. She loves to dance and kickbox and yoga, and absolutely adores the vivid diversity of color in the universe. What I definitely know about Amy, because she sends me music all the time, is that music moves her soul and inspires her daily to fully breathe life in. And like I mentioned, I'm a broken record here today. Amy is celebrating the release of her new book, All She Needs Is Love. And we have the honor of having her share her journey and how it brought her to realize one of her greatest dreams. This is Amy Dawn. Amy, how you doing, my sister?
I'm doing fabulous. My whole body was just lit up with just light from your voice and your words, and you're just so genuine and sincere all the time, Joe. And even the intro to your Love Wave, there's just so much truth in every single thing that you said, and I'm so honored to be here with you.
Thank you. You know, we're doing the love work, and that's why I'm here. And I'm not messing around either. And so, thank you. I appreciate that. So, I have a little treat for you. I went back on our conversations on Messenger. I'm scrolling and scrolling. I'm like, man, we talked a lot. And I went back to August 16th of 2019. And I don't think you wrote this for me, but you told me this is for you. So regardless if it was for me or not, I mean, it resonated deeply with me. And so I want to read that to kick things off. And this is what you wrote. And this whole time, when I searched outside of myself for answers and healing, these things were really just messengers that I had it all within me the entire time. And that's when I decided I want to become the version of me that mastered the coherent energy of my heart and brain so I could continue expanding that vibration of love simply by being it. Ooh. As grateful as I am that there is medicine and plants on the earth, I ask myself, what do I have to become to embody the medicine that I am? Love answered. Love is still the answer. The love that runs through your veins is your medicine. I lost it. I'm not sure if you remember that, but then I think I recorded it and sent it to you. But it's one of those mainstays that in our relationship that kind of opened up this portal to discovery, love, acceptance. I mean, there are some raw things that I've shared with you that I maybe share with a handful of folks. So I love you and I trust you. And I'm so glad that you're here. So with that, I want to ask you, what was the moment you knew I'm writing a book? Do you remember that?
Whew, probably years ago, honestly. I've been writing since I could print words. So yeah, I can't even pinpoint the exact time. When I knew I was going to actually write this book was in a moment where I realized that I already had a book written because I write poetry every single day. I receive insight and wisdom just from simply living life. And I had all this vulnerability poured into a Word document and I realized it was just time. Since last year up until even now, I still am hearing now's the time. Now's
Yeah.
the time. And you just get to a place where you just trust that, and it's
Yeah.
time. It's just time to do it.
Yeah. You know what? And I really believe that it's such a great inspiration and an example for those who especially do the work that we do. You know, we hear a lot of people that are in our communities of, I want to write a book. There's something in my heart I want to express. I want it on paper. You know, I want it, to capsulize that in this reading. And there's life comes, right? And there's a lot of obstacles. People are doing their work. They're, getting through their mindsets and heart sets and deconstructing so they can reconstruct. But it doesn't manifest. How does it fucking feel that one of your dreams manifest? Because that's a long time. How do you feel?
A mixture of things. When I first received my proof, I've had moments like this before because I've had other dreams come true. It's almost like stepping into reality that you've known existed for so long,
Hmm.
and you're just experiencing it in the tangible. So it was familiar and yet surreal. That's the great paradox I feel about the dreams and the visions that are literally placed in our hearts by the
Yeah,
universe, by God, by spirit, whatever you want to call it. Is It's familiar. It actually feels like home.
that's good.
Yet to the personality, it's like, whoa, did that just happen?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before you take the stage, I want to ask you one question.
Yes.
What was the most difficult decision that you had to make in this journey to fulfilling one of your dreams?
To completely let go and not judge what I was going to put in this book. And holding it in my hand, I've had moments of, what were you thinking, Amy, to put that in this book?
Uh,
Because when I write, I'm going to share one in a second. Actually, the one that you shared is in the book.
uh,
Um, yeah, it's when I was writing, I wasn't writing with any filters. I wasn't writing thinking, who's going to read this? I was
right.
writing for me in the moment as permission to
Yeah.
meet myself and hold space for myself exactly where I was. So
Yeah.
there's a few things where I mentioned some stuff about how I grew up as a child and mentioned my parents. And I know they're reading my book. So
Wow.
yeah.
I think that's so beautiful. And I believe that's one of the things that a lot of us hold on to is, what are they going to say? Right. And I can appreciate you making a decision. I said, what is the most difficult decision in terms of letting go? What are you letting go of? You're letting go of others' expectations. You're letting go of others' opinions. Those four words, what will they say? Type of thing. And even your parents, so I commend you for just grabbing hold of the inside and saying, here it is, you know, and not taking responsibility for other people's reactions, acceptance, and embracing of. You did what you were supposed to do. And now it's continued surrender, allowance, trusting, letting go. That's not just a one time decision, right?
Yeah, it's continuous.
Right.
As I hold this book, it just continues to reveal that journey for me.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to get out of the way here and allow you to take the Love Wave Live virtual stage. Welcome to Love Wave Live. Here's Amy Dawn.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm more than excited to be here. I don't know if you guys can feel the energy. I feel energy. And the energy that I'm feeling right now is my heart is just so open. And I can feel the love and the presence and the joy and just the space that's here for every single one of us. And when I was thinking about coming on today and where I would start, I tend to work in flow. I have a great connection with spirit, God, consciousness. And to me, that is energy. Energy is always flowing. And I immediately woke up this morning and felt pulled to actually starting with a poem that's in my book that speaks to all of this. We tend to hold so much high expectation for ourselves, how to show up, what to say, how to prepare, and how to plan. And this poem that I wrote really speaks to that. And I think it's just an anointment and a great medicine to begin the show. And also invite you guys all to just sit and open yourselves and make yourself available to whatever needs to land in your heart. If you want to close your eyes, go ahead and do that. This is really about showing up for you and doing what's best for you. And that's how I live my life. That's how I've learned to live my life. I didn't always live my life that way. And I still fall back into spaces where I forget that. So I really invite you into knowing that even though we're live, you are with you, and you are the most precious gift that you have. So close your eyes, take a deep breath. This is titled Presence. We have words written in our hearts. Do you ever wonder where to start? We have spontaneous conversations all the time, and yet I'm standing here in front of you worried that all of this may rhyme. And I'm wondering if I'm wasting your time. That's fear speaking. I wake up all the time. See, I said it again. And I see myself standing on stage being asked to undress my soul, to just bare it all to you without needing to know what I'm going to say next. That's courage. And so I stand up here, and with my eyes closed, I allow myself to sink into my body, to experience every cringe of discomfort and sensation. That's presence. And I just start speaking. Am I enough? How many interactions do we have? How many conversations do we encounter in a day? Perhaps I should have put the encounter with the interactions and the have with the conversations. It makes more sense. Oops, stupid me. That's judgment. How often do we show up already judging that we aren't enough? Like, who am I to be in the spotlight and have nothing prepared, nothing rehearsed, and yet I apologize? That's a lie. Because I wrote all of these words down when I was taken to that place in the stillness of my mind. Spirit awoke me and placed me on the stage, speaking on the fly, letting whatever needed to rise, no matter what it sounded like, and owning it. Or am I? Is it even really mine? Isn't everything that comes through us a gift of the divine? Aren't we supposed to give that away? Instead, I'm sure you'll agree with me. We let fear have the last say. Who am I to stay standing up here and speak from my heart? What if my heart doesn't actually know what to say? What if my mind just gets in the way? The game that we play inside, we hide it well. We keep it together by preparing and needing to have a plan, or at least we think we are prepared. But we are really just scared. While that still small voice inside of us says, I dare you. And it's daring. And for a glimpse of a moment, it makes us feel alive and free. And then instantaneously contracting us back into doubt. And doubt demands stop. Dare to be bold and big? That's a waste of time. Let's stay small. that might provoke something. Or worse, someone who won't understand what you're doing. You won't know what to say next. So why bother at all? Fear. Even though when I was sitting with myself, these words just appeared. And does it really matter if I stuttered and stopped? Take a pause, take a breath, feel the knot in my throat as I try to prove I'm enough? Why is having this written down proof that I'm prepared? What if we already are prepared? Because I'm here. You're here. The proof is in our presence. You showed up. When is that going to be enough? I am here. Now what? I got chills reading that. I remember writing that. I actually was woken up in the middle of the night and my soul was calling me on this stage just to undress it without needing to rehearse, without needing to prepare, without needing to have a plan. And it really showed me how much, just even in daily conversations and interactions, even at home with our own children, our family, our parents, our siblings, our friends, that we so often come from our head space instead of our heart space. Because really dropping down into our hearts requires a level of courage and vulnerability. And that can feel really scary because it takes a place of willingness and surrendering to the moment that we can just trust that the next thing that we're meant to say is exactly what we're meant to speak and say. And reading this poem reminded me of how I began my journey into self love. You see, I grew up, I actually had to ask my parents this. Last year, I sat with myself for 8 days and really sat with my inner child and really did some deep integration and healing work and actually wrote my second book in 8 days. And I had to ask my parents what I was like as a child because I couldn't remember. There was like, it almost felt like there was this gap because they said I was so happy and I loved life and I loved them. And what I remember, most of my memories aren't of love. They were of pain and heartache and despair and self loathing. I grew up somehow not loving myself and attached to my worthiness as my body and what I looked like, and also how I succeeded in life, in school, like a lot of us do. And all of a sudden, I was like, what happened? I didn't know where I went, where my love of life went. And having my son, who is now 12, was a catalyst for my transformation. And I really want to speak to that. I really truly feel that everything that is meant for us is already planted within us. And the love that we have is inside of us. The love that we are is inside of us. The love that we are seeking is within us. And it just gets covered up. It gets covered up by these stories and these belief systems and this conditioning. And that looks different for everybody, but on some level, we all have this love that gets covered. I almost think of it like a light, and you can start putting paint on the light, and then eventually you can't see the light anymore. And that's kind of what happened to me. And I didn't understand it until after having my son. And all of a sudden, I started feeling things really intensely for the first time in my life, and emotions that I didn't want to feel, deep, deep, deep pain and trauma. All of my trauma resurfaced based on his delivery, his birth and delivery. And I was angry for 5 years. And then I was angry that I was angry. And then I was angry that I was angry that I was angry. And I couldn't find out why I was angry. And I realized that just all this suppression of anger, because anger wasn't necessarily a safe emotion to show growing up as a kid. And during this time, I dove into myself. I dove into energy medicine and conscious awakening. And so I started to gain all of this awareness and kind of experience the dark night of the soul, which has its own medicine. And with that, the numbing started to stop because I was feeling everything. I was feeling every single emotion. And I learned that there was parts of my subconscious and my psyche that was just naturally numbing. And once you numb one emotion, you numb all emotions. If you want to numb fear and anger, then you also numb joy and bliss. So I started to plunge deeply into feeling and awareness, self-awareness of why I had lived my life a certain way started to reveal itself. And the more I allowed myself to feel, the more I allowed myself to feel also the emotions and the light. And it's like that paint started to get washed off of that light bulb, my heart, my true self. And having the willingness to sit with myself in some of the deepest pain taught me so much compassion for myself and for others. And then I was just in it. Once you're in it, you can't go back. You can't go back to living a life asleep. You're so awake that you continue to wake up even more. And waking up to love, to that light that was within me was messy at times, and at other times it was like I was walking through heaven. So I encourage anyone that can relate to this, that the messy is so significant. Don't give up if you're in a messy stage right now. I have ebbed and flowed through messy stages. I feel so fortunate that I'm an artist because that's how I paint. I actually paint messy, and then all of a sudden something beautiful appears. And there's no coincidence in that. So without chaos, we wouldn't have order. Without messy, we wouldn't have clean. Without conflict and versatility and the diversity, we wouldn't have beauty. We wouldn't have significance. We wouldn't know our own souls. And so I always write. It's something that I've been gifted with since I was young. I get pulled into the present moment and I allow myself to feel the intensity of every single emotion, whatever I'm feeling, and I just write. I don't stop. It's like this flow comes out of me. And actually, I can't even write with a pen anymore. I write mostly on my phone. I'm actually faster on my phone than I am on my computer now. It's crazy. I've kept up with technology that way. It comes out of me and through me so fast that I just write, and it's healing. It has its own medicine when you allow whatever that is inside of you to move through you, because really everything is energy. Our emotions are energy, our thoughts are energy, our stories are energy. Everything is energy and it needs to have a place to go. So for me, one of the ways is writing, and I allow it to come through me and come onto the piece of paper. And in that moment, there's so much that happens. Release is huge. I also get to have a different perspective by reading it back. And I get to see how I'm not what I wrote. I am not the pain. I am not the trauma. I am not the story, but I'm able to give it a place to be seen and heard and understood and loved, because truly, that's what all of our pain is. Every single one of our wounds just needs to be held and loved and seen. And the more I've been able to do this for myself, the more I'm able to do this for others. Some of the greatest gifts that I've been given divinely, I have been able to pass on to my son, and I never, never, ever would have thought that. So to me, that's what meeting myself is meeting all of me, every single aspect of me, every single story that comes up, every single sensation and emotion that's attached to that story. It's meeting the ugly parts and the beautiful parts, because there's a certain level of acceptance and forgiveness that also comes to the surface with that. And it also shows me where I'm still developing. It also shows me where I'm still so tender. And those tender parts are like a seed that's just been planted in the dirt, and it needs time, and it needs the right environment, and it needs the right nutrients and nourishment and for its growth. I also look at it as like an embryo. So I feel this coming into my heart space right now to share with you guys that if there's something that you just haven't figured out yet, if there's one thing that you can look back over your life that maybe you struggled the most with, it could just be that that is an embryo. It has its own timeline, its own conception, and its own integration to be able to come fully to this birthing of something greater than what you think it is. And that's something that's one of the greatest gifts that I've learned, is usually the more intense, the more that I can see that that's something that has been with me for a really long time, the greater the emergence, the greater the metamorphosis, and the greater the birthing process. Every single time, it's never failed. And it always pulls me deeper into love. Love really truly has no limits and no boundaries. And I have learned this in my own heart, in the space of just being with me. So don't give up. I encourage you to make peace where you are, what has happened up until this space, and don't be afraid to go deep. The deeper you go, the more held you are. There is this depth of love that I have come to know that I cannot attach to anyone or anything. It is simply spaciousness, consciousness, emptiness, and yet I am so full when I reach this space. Thank you. I just feel so complete right now, and I'm going to pass it back to Joe. Thank you so much.
Pass it back to us. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, gosh, a lot of nuggets in there. Thank you for sharing so much of your journey and what brought you here. I want to. I know it's in the mail. I'm getting have my copy of your book. All She Needs Is Love, and a beautiful cover as well. So share with us, what would you like the book to your readers, right? To feel, to take away from your writings.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity to meet yourself in my writing. And I say that in the beginning of the book too. It's not a book that you can read through really quickly or front to back. There's so much depth and profound intensity in some of the writings that it really is an opportunity to meet yourself. So I encourage anyone who reads this book to approach it like an oracle. And that's actually how it's set up. So there's themes in the beginning where if you just naturally feel called to a theme in your life, you can go to that theme, or you can just randomly open to a page and read that. And as well, I offered 12 blank pages in the center as a way of anchoring you back into your center and in your core. And there's one question at the top of each page to anchor you into diving deep into your heart and soul and really meeting yourself in a way that maybe you haven't before. And the blank pages are for you. If you want to cry on them, if you want to throw words on them, if you want to draw on them, it's for you. It really is an invitation into you. This whole book is an invitation into you.
Beautiful. Yeah. So the parts of us that maybe we'd rather not meet, or maybe we deny, or when we come to meet that part of ourselves, we make up a story, or it's just like a tough reintroduction. What would you share, say, tell others who are experiencing that? Because it's a daunting thing to see what happens when you lay the mask down, right? What you're looking at. What process either did you go through, or what would you share with those that are experiencing this idea of meeting themselves?
Yeah, number one, that it's very natural and normal to not want to go there. And those are usually the stories that need our attention the most. That to me, I always visualize a little child, even a baby, who needs so much extra love and nurturing. And we don't tend to want to, as adults, to look at the parts of us that are that fragile, really. But we all have those parts of us that are that fragile. It's not just you. Like, I've gone through this. I know you've gone through this, Joe. So go slow. You don't
Mm,
need to rush the process.
yeah.
Um, know that whatever you get triggered with or whatever story comes up that you really want to avoid is an invitation to draw the curtain and look at what's behind it, and know that even if it feels like it's you, it's not really you. It's just something that's played out in your life that you've been so familiar with and so
Right.
accustomed to hiding. And
Hmm.
transparency is scary, but it's the key to loving ourselves. The
Yeah.
more transparent that we can become just with ourselves, it's amazing what happens, because it starts to dissolve, right? We can start to see through it. It
Hey,
loses its density.
how does one get to that point, though, of acceptance? So they see that part of them, they acknowledge it, that idea of like embracing it, and our shadow, those dark parts that we've experienced and come to know, they're always following us. I mean, if you really look at a shadow, right, the dark parts, the only way that you can see the shadow of light is expanded on you, right? And so there's this like, get away, you can't get rid of your shadow. How does
Yeah.
one come to embrace it, that shadow?
I don't think there's one processes. I've met myself in so many different ways. What's coming up for me to speak to that in the most authentic way is try chasing your shadow. It doesn't work, because our shadow is just a reflection of our light.
Hmm.
So somehow bringing yourself to a place of, even if it's just a word
Yeah.
or a phrase, to remind yourself that it's okay. It's okay that this is where I am. Like if you have to say that out loud, this is okay. This is
Yeah.
okay what I'm feeling. This is okay that this is what I'm starting to observe and witness, because we are often not told it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's two words, but they're so powerful and so profound. It's
Yeah.
okay.
It's okay. What part of yourself did you meet that you were surprised to discover?
Ooh. That's a loaded question. I have to go on the bright side with this one, actually. I had no idea that I had this this beautiful sovereign goddess within me, this woman who was so potent with
Hmm.
love and vibrancy. I had no idea she existed. And it's because I was able to meet the other side of that, that she revealed herself to me. I get, my belly is just like tingling right now. And I think that's why I'm on here, is to offer that to men and women. But because I'm a woman, I can relate to women a lot more. And coming from a history of sexual trauma, it's it's a day I never thought that I would see, is this free, sensual, sexual goddess, this divine being within me.
Mm. Yeah, I have come to know that those places that I either hid and or was ashamed of, you know, those dark places, the shadows, right? That I have found. And I'm looking over my shoulder like the shadow was right there. But it's like,
Mm.
that's my purpose.
Yeah.
That is my calling. That is my ministry, right? And because others are experiencing that same thing. And I didn't know any better, but I allowed it to define me. And so, in meeting it and meeting the fullness of how it became a part of me, was that beautiful journey of acceptance of it is meant for good. It's all meant for good. It didn't feel good, but it is meant for good. There's
Yeah.
a huge difference. And I said this actually on last week's show. It was like, people say things happen for a reason, Well, I think things happen, and we have the absolute power to freaking define and put a meaning to what happened. That is how powerful we are
Yes.
if we allow ourselves to be, So I love what you said about um, the messy is so significant, right? And then you give it a beautiful example of how you paint messy. So I've seen one of your videos where it is the time lapse video where you're starting a painting and I see it come to life, and I'm like, how's that gonna start? I mean, because when you paint, you just start doing shit,
Yeah.
and it just starts to unfold, and it's like, whoa. And I remember, you remember that piece that I wanted and someone bought. I was like, oh man. And when you did the time lapse, that's really powerful, to see it all come. And I know it is infused. And when you did that wall, for Chris Mesnick, when you did her wall, it was just different stages. At one point, I thought it was complete. And then you kept painting, and it was like, wow, it continues to evolve, even at a point where I thought it was complete. So yeah, what a beautiful mirror to our lives. We
Yes.
think we've come to a point, right, where it's like, okay, this is where, and things continue to unfold.
Yes.
So that is awesome.
Can I speak
Uh,
to that really quickly?
Please, yeah, please do.
Yeah, so that is an absolutely wonderful mirror, and something I want to say, that if you see yourself as a perfectionist, because I know I have that, like I had that image and that definition of needing to be a perfectionist, which really comes from an insecurity of not being worthy and not being accepted as we are. And so painting for me has taught me to do the opposite. So one of the ways that we can actually come to know ourselves really well and meet ourselves is doing the opposite of what we normally would do. So if we are a perfectionist and need to have everything planned and to the point and perfectly prepared, I say do the opposite. And maybe not with your plan, but grab a canvas, get some paints, use your hands, and just play and throw paint on a canvas and see what happens. Because when you let go of the end result of what it needs to be or what it looks like, that's where you dive into the great unknown mystery of the limitless universe, and everything that's possible has a chance to then come through. So it's
Yes,
actually clearing the channels.
absolutely. Ah, absolutely. Um, you talked about also the embryo, right? It has its own timing. It has, its own journey, and it is like giving birth. And what in your life have you, I mean, besides this book, what are you impregnated with right now?
Oh boy. Wow, lots, lots. About 30 other books I'm impregnated with.
Ooh.
Also, I have a soul mission to paint the world love, and that's been revealing itself to me. And that doesn't necessarily mean painting. That started with me putting a love billboard up in Regina this past March, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I wrote a song. So that's has its own birthing process too. I'm waiting for all these people to come in to help put it together and put it out into the world.
Hmm.
I am birthing the manifestation of my soul life sexy partner. Maybe he's
Okay.
listening in. I don't know who you are yet. So
Right.
there's that.
Contact information is right there scrolling, right?
Yeah, and just a new reality where we can really meet each other with more compassion and love and break the generational curse, so to speak, of silent suffering, because we
Mm,
don't need to suffer silently anymore. That's an old lineage story. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, um, tell everyone where they can find your book.
It's on every online platform that exists. Too many to list. Amazon, Kobo, Kindle. Those are the top ones that I know offhand. You can go to my website, and the link to the Amazon one is there. Yeah, so you can get the paperback version or just the e-version. Super easy.
Very, very. That's awesome. I'm just so excited for that. And you're having a celebration today on your launch day. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Oh, I just have so many amazing people in my community here. We're having a cacao ceremony. I don't know who is familiar with that, but it's sacred chocolate. It's literally seeded and cultivated for purposes of ceremony. And cacao, in its most natural raw form, is a heart opener. So I'm having Sundance Robson here, and he is going to do a drumming and a singing with cacao. And then I have a friend making East Indian dishes, and then we're going to dance. And it's just going to be a celebration of dreams coming true and creating space for everybody that's in this space for their dreams to come true.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. I'm honored to be a part of your celebration today of the launch of one of your dreams, and I know you have many. And you're such a beautiful soul, and I really love you. Okay, so I would like you to complete the following sentences. Okay, the first one is I feel the presence of Source when.
I feel the presence of Source when I truly am open and available. That is it.
That's it. When you're open and available. That's
Yes.
awesome. How about this? I experience love most when.
You cut out just a little bit there. Joe, can you repeat
Oh,
that?
I experience love the most when.
Oh, definitely when I'm giving.
Oh,
Definitely when I'm
yeah.
giving. Yeah, I love giving.
I love that because a lot of people would say when they receive something, right? And it's this idea of I feel love when I'm giving. I love that, right? That's awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, here's another. The purpose of forgiveness is.
To set ourselves free.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Very
Mhm.
good. The last word, or actually use one word to describe who you are and why you're here.
I am actually my name, which means beloved, beloved.
Mm,
And I'm here to remind people that to point to the beloved that is within us.
mm,
We are beloved.
yeah,
Hmm.
awesome. All right. And my last question is I'm not going to ask the billboard question because I know that you have a love affair with billboards. But the last question is if you could be remembered only by your words,
Mm.
what would those words be?
I love you so incredibly much.
Oh, wow. Wow. I felt that. Yeah. And if you think about that, how powerful when people say, what do you remember most about Amy? Is that she loved me so incredibly much. That's just so powerful. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for being on our stage today and having a little conversation with me. And everyone, you can, all the contact information is down below. Amy's website is amydawn.com, Dawns with an S.com. When I first met you, your website has since enhanced, but when I went to your, and that's how, when I first went to your website, it said, make love loud. And I was like, ooh. And I'm like, oh, wait. And then we talked about what that meant. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, my goodness. Yeah. So you definitely have a mission. And that's just been a mainstay of who you are and, what you want to do and be in this world. So
Yeah.
for those of you who are watching, next week I have two guests in one, and they have a show called Two Girls and a Pea from the Washington State. You will love them both. And come on. And then in the subsequent weeks, I'll be having Kit Volcano, who is scheduled in October as well. So continue to join us, even if it's not live. Watch afterwards and leave comments so our guests can also see the interaction that y'all are having. But Amy, once again, thank you, my love. Great to have you on. Everyone, have a beautiful day. Wish my beautiful baby as well a happy birthday. And
Happy birthday.
yeah, and always know love is absolutely, definitely, most unequivocally the answer. Take care, everybody. The inevitable truth is that your life won't last forever. You think about the people you love deeply, and thinking about it might actually hurt. Have you ever